know that this time isn't ideal for people in Iraq, so we might bring it forward a couple of hours next time to make it easier for people. But thank you very much indeed for joining up, and we're going to hear from our favourite geopolitical man, John Wilkes, in a minute. Then we're going to be hearing a bit from Into, who are new members. I'm very excited to hear about them, and then Eamon's going to talk about M-Select and the report, and then we might introduce one or two other people as well who are on the call. So thank you all very much. If again, towards the end, any of you want to share any inside information or something that would be useful, or just say something of interest, then we'd be very happy to hear from you. In the meantime, it's a very big geopolitical time at the moment in the Gulf. So, John, can I hand over to you to update us on what's happening with American battleships in Iran and Iraq and prime ministers and all sorts of things?
Thanks, Ashley. So yes, I think everybody in the Middle East at the moment is keeping an eye on US military deployments and US-Iran tensions. The latest indications are that both sides are willing to discuss and try to negotiate some form of deal, but it's not clear whether the American wish for a deal that goes beyond the nuclear program to the proxies and allies and to the ballistic missiles, whether they would accept that. My feel from what we've seen so far is that I think Trump would rather do a limited deal than get into further military action at this stage. But obviously there's great uncertainty because, you know, both sides are making moves which I think are impacting negatively on the other. I don't think it was a good move by Iran to try and suggest moving the negotiations from Turkey to Oman. I don't think that went down well, but it's a secondary issue. So as long as these sort of noises off can be managed, as long as we avoid inadvertent spikes in tension, I think there is a good chance that there will be some form of negotiation, even if it doesn't lead to a deal. The Iranians will need to be careful, though, because I think most observers in the Middle East would see the opening of a negotiation as essentially a concession to Iran. It allows Iran to play for time a little bit. I don't think Trump is in the mood for anything that isn't going to move quickly to a deal. And even if it's linked to just nuclear, I think Trump will be looking for something better than the Obama deal. And so that's going to require a big concession from Iran on handing over the enriched uranium and on reducing to zero its capabilities for uranium enrichment. So I think that's where we are at the moment, but obviously that tension overshadows a lot of what is going on in the Middle East, even if it does result in some form of negotiation. In Iraq itself, of course, we've got the ongoing saga of the government formation, which has got messier than it needed to because of what was the reversal of usual diplomatic practice. And usually in diplomacy, you give the tougher messages in private and the softer messages in public. And the US, I think, inadvertently reversed that, having given quite a soft message in private about US interests were the important thing. Personalities were less of a factor. But there was a very negative view from the US about the return of Maliki. And of course, Donald Trump then laid that on thick on social media. Maliki, I think, will play this in a way that gets him more power and access to patronage within the system, but would involve, in return for him stepping back and allowing another candidate to come forward, some extra concessions made to him within the coordination framework. And that was essentially what was always understood from the beginning, is that Maliki and the other important Shia leaders would be the real decision-making power, and there would be a frontman who could manage international relations, who could manage reconstruction efforts, who could manage the great economic challenges that Iraq faces. Somebody like Soudani, but not Soudani, because they didn't want ever to give somebody a second chance of being prime minister and to establish a semi-permanent hold on Iraqi politics, as Maliki himself had done. So it looks like, even though it's been a bit messy, we're still on track for what people understood would be the case, that neither Maliki nor Soudani in the end would come forward, and there would be a third candidate. Who that third candidate would be, I think, is still an open question. The system itself is using the fact that Kurds haven't got their act together to delay the choice of the presidency, which that comes before the choice of the prime minister. So I think this is going to stretch things out a little bit while the discussions take place. But at the heart of it, I think the real concern in Iraq is the effect on the dollar economy if Donald Trump refuses to accept the relationship with whichever new prime minister, whichever new government comes, and that is pretty impactful on Iraq and indeed on Iran. I mean, Iran itself, I think, will be saying to the Iraqi Shia leaders, don't do anything that could collapse the dollar economy in Iraq, because that is a major source of dollars also for Iran. So I think there is the makings of a deal here, although I don't think it's clear yet which candidate will come forward. I think it'll delay the process a little longer. The only other thing I'll say is very interesting developments in Syria, where Damascus has essentially established control over a lot of the Euphrates Valley, and appears to be asserting greater control over areas even beyond that, although that remains still, I think, quite a complex issue with Kurdish strength in those areas yet to be tested. But I think it's for Iraq, it's made it clear that they will have to deal with a consolidating power in Damascus, and that the test of that will be their common interest in containing and pushing back on Islamic State and Daesh. And the relationship so far between Iraq and Syria has been better at the level of intelligence cooperation around dealing with cross-border threats, terrorism, drugs, smuggling. I think that still has a real potential to slowly build up the relationship between Syria and Iraq, despite the suspicions in Iraq that there's going to be a sectarian tension rising. So that really, I think, is the story on geopolitics. As you can see in the oil markets, people aren't expecting necessarily a huge drama, but everybody's keeping a close eye on the possibility of inadvertent spikes in tension and possibly some form of limited military action by either side. It's clear that Iran has been probing to send signals that it has the ability to attack US interests and US allied interests as a way of reinforcing deterrence. Thank you.
John, thank you very much. Of course, watching the price of oil might be another good indicator of what's going on too. May not be entirely bad for Iraq. Thank you very much indeed, John. Would anyone like to ask a quick question of John or to comment on this? Sounds like maybe not. Okay, so without more ado, very much like to introduce new member into, I think that's how you say it, isn't it, Andrew? And so Andrew Sinclair is going to take us through this. Looking very much forward to this, Andrew. Thank you.
Great. It's actually IN2, so innovation and insight. Okay. But everyone makes that mistake, so no worries. Well, so first off, good afternoon and thank you. It's a pleasure to join the IBBC and meet fellow members. I just want to start by challenging a common assumption that often when people hear the word communications, they often think of just press releases, campaigns. And certainly while we do that at IN2, those things are the final output, not the starting point. So at its core, IN2 is a research-led, data-driven operational capability built to function in complex environments like Iraq. We don't begin by broadcasting messages. We begin by understanding the operating context and then translating that understanding into practical action on the ground. So we've been fully operational in both federal Iraq and the Kurdistan region for over a decade, fully registered, and we've been a trusted partner for HMG, UN agencies, and other international donors. And what differentiates IN2 is the operational capability combines global reach with local access. So our team globally numbers 150 staff plus across more than 20 nationalities with strong Iraqi leadership throughout the company. Our largest office is in Erbil, and we operate as that bridge between local realities and senior decision makers. So first, we're data-driven. We don't rely on anecdote or instinct. We use social sentiment analysis, engagement heat maps, disinformation monitoring tools to track narratives in real time. An example of this is in Southern Iraq alone. Our digital networks have reached more than 6 million people, giving us and our clients early warning signs of emerging risks before they escalated. Secondly, we're a very technology-forward company. We have a Mosul-based subsidiary, Cough Lab, and they've applied tools such as virtual reality, 3D modeling, originally developed for cultural heritage preservation, but it's been used to help clients meet operational realities. So whether it's stakeholder mapping or risk monitoring or scenario testing, all of these tools are available. So I'll talk a little bit about what this means for many of the private sector clients that are IBBC members. And often the most difficult aspect, as we all know, is navigating the state. And this is where our operational capability provides real tangible value. We don't advise from a distance. We work alongside government institutions. Past programs, we've embedded senior advisors within the Prime Minister's office and across 7 ministries. This included the establishment of the Government Digital Service, which assisted Ministry of Finance with communications around economic reforms. We've also worked with Ministries of Health, Interior on crisis response and disinformation. So that's enabled us to understand how decisions are made, how authority flows, and how all that policy translate into action. And this understanding really gives us operational credibility to move quickly, as we know, in these very turbulent and politically divisive contexts. So in practical terms for IBBC members, what kinds of things do we do? So first is risk and crisis management. We provide continuous monitoring and rapid response. We can identify harmful narratives, disinformation affecting your operations or reputation before they gain momentum. Second are things like ESG, supply chain visibility, particularly for clients in procurement, logistics, manufacturing. We have discrete reporting mechanisms, including even whistleblower platforms, to surface labor risks and help strengthen compliance across quite complex supply chains. And then third is cyber resilience. We're Cyber Essentials Plus accredited across our organization. We've done trainings, systems and protocol to protect data in staff and environments where, as we know, digital threats are increasing. So we can help anticipate risk, we can help maintain continuity, and help members operate in Iraq in confidence. So to conclude, deep Iraqi roots with international operating standards. And we're not here just to help you speak, although we are at our core a comms firm. We're really here to help you operate. So thank you, and really look forward to getting everything out of IBBC. So it's a pleasure. That's it.
Fascinating, Andrew. Thank you so much. Christoph, I think you'd like to comment.
Andrew, I'm Christoph from the IBBC. Just wanted to ask you a bit about the media landscape in Iraq. I mean, everybody will notice that Russian propaganda, for example, is extremely effective. How do you see these things? I mean, disinformation is a big thing, I would say, in a country where there are no traditional media you can really rely on. Yeah, maybe you could just elaborate a bit on it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's such a fragmented landscape, which is part of the challenge. And I think what we found, we have actually this capability called the disinformation detection capability, the DDC, and it can help us using both automated tools and human analysts to anticipate those and find where those narratives are emerging in what can often be such a fragmented landscape. And I will say the way to sort of counteract that is often in a programming context, is to fill the void that is often the gap that disinformation narratives exploit. So there are many ways to counteract it, but just detecting, monitoring, and then responding to it is a full-time job. And as you know, the challenges or the sort of political contestation does not just happen, in parliament, in the negotiation rooms, behind closed doors. It happens online, as we were talking about earlier. And so for us, this space, whether we call it the information environment or the cognitive space, has such an impact on operations and on reputation and credibility. So for us, it's as important, if not more, than the actual operations on the ground.
And could I just follow up on that? The use of AI, I mean, fake recordings, fake videos, compromising politicians, or just as a source of disinformation. Are you able to counteract these things or even analyze them? For example, if there was a politician or a businessman and there's a recording comes up somewhere, making him say things that he hasn't said, would you be able to analyze that source and then give a report to say that this is actually a falsification?
Absolutely. We've done that in many contexts with a variety of other clients. So it's a capability that we have, and I think it's not just detecting it, but then finding out what's the best way to respond. But absolutely, those tools are available. Yeah, and we're happy to share further capabilities or talk through any specific needs that folks have, and we can explore discrete topics of interest.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Andrew. That was fascinating, and I'm hoping you might be able to join the technology innovation panel at the Mansion House on the 9th of June. As I'm finding more and more of our members are becoming very tech savvy and using technology to deliver their business. So thank you very much indeed, Andrew. Well, how can people get hold of you?
Yeah, I'll put my email address in the chat if people can see it, andrew.sinclair@in2comms.com. But I'll drop in the chat for folks to reach out.
Thank you very much indeed. And with that, I'd like now to go over to Cheyenne from M-Select, who have got a fresh recruitment report, one of some of your many reports, but this is the latest one, isn't it? So I'm looking forward to hearing from you for a few minutes, if that's right. Here are the highlights, Cheyenne.
Thank you, Ashley. Good afternoon, everyone. For those who didn't I have a chance to meet with, my name is Cheyenne. I'm the Operations Director at M-Select. It's a pleasure to be on this call with you today. So M-Select is a regional workforce solution and HR service provider established in 2012 in Erbil, initially, with branches all over Iraq, in Baghdad, Basra, Diyala, and Kirkuk. So Suli as well, sorry. So we support international organizations across the region through recruitment, contract staffing, payroll outsourcing, workforce mobility, and employment support services. Currently, we are outsourcing 1,800 contractors through Iraq. So as we mark our 40th consecutive year operating in Iraq, we are currently sharing our 5th Iraq employment outlook for 2026. And the report's based on employee survey data collected across Iraq, covering multiple industries, regions, and organization sizes. And it provides a clear snapshot of how employers are viewing the year ahead. So the outlook report of 26, we can say, reflects cautious optimism, while economic and political pressures continue, but organizations are still planning ahead. So 32% of the participants expect to hire new workforce, while 28% plan to maintain their current workforce level that they have. With that, 6% anticipate reduction in their workforce for various different reasons. The concerning number will be the 34% remaining are those they haven't decided, reflecting the ongoing uncertainty in decision making, which is based on our experience, that's a high percentage. Previous years, these percentages were lower. So when it comes to the hiring expectations and talent pool in the market, the hiring expectations are strongest in central and southern Iraq. That's because of the economic activity remains more active in those areas. As for the talent availability, 40% believe that the local talent meets their needs, while we see many organizations still face skill gaps, particularly in engineering, leadership, project management. These are the areas that most of organizations suffering to find suitable candidates. So as a result, expatriate hiring is still expected by many organizations in 26. Despite all these challenges, the growth story remains strong because 69% of the organization expect to expand their operations in Iraq for 2026, particularly in industrial, IT, and multi-sector groups. Overall, this report for 2026 shows a market that's moving forward carefully. So I will share the link in the chat box so all of us can see it, and I encourage you to download it for the further insight. Also, you can look for the previous year's reports as well that been previously before.
Cheyenne, if I could just ask a question while you're doing that. It sounds quite a robust situation, which is very good, and it probably suggests that the economy might be slightly less immune to oil shocks all the time. Are you noticing other areas are diversifying a little bit more, and you're getting expansion in non-oil areas, for example?
The two areas that are popping up after the oil and gas is the IT in general and telecom. These areas currently, because as we in Iraq currently exploring the 5G, so a lot of companies are entering Iraq and trying to get the license for 5G so they can operate and provide that services. And we are currently working with some of them to secure some contracts with them. So we also in the report that popped up. Also industrial comes after that.
Thank you very much.
Of course.
If anyone's got any questions, please raise your hand. Otherwise, I think we may be. Thank you very much indeed, Cheyenne. This will be available. Mustafa Ahmed.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much. Good afternoon for everyone. And on behalf of our General Manager of Mitsubishi Corporation in Iraq, Mr. Masahiro Morimoto, I attended this conference, and thank you for IBBC for this opportunity. In fact, we in Mitsubishi Corporation Iraq office, also following the geopolitical developments in the region, as well as the most important issue, which is the formation of the Iraqi government or the new Iraqi government. So we hope that the new Iraqi government will be formed soon, but we would like to ask what the impact of the delay in forming the Iraqi government on the Iraqi economy and business in general. Thank you for IBBC. Thank you.
Mustafa, thank you. Maybe John Wilkes, possibly, or maybe another member would like to answer that. Anybody volunteering a thought? Christoph, you got some thoughts?
Well, I don't know if John is still with us, but I mean, certainly the longer it takes to form a government, the longer the decision-making impasse will continue. So that's a big problem always. we are also looking at a new budget, I believe. The new government will have to pass a budget which will have to make difficult choices with regards to where to cut costs, really, because the current budget, I think, is pegged at $70 or something like that. And we're just not achieving these prices anymore. And Iraq is draining its resources as we speak. So there will have to be some difficult choices coming up for the next government. And the longer you wait, the more difficult these choices are going to become. But John, I saw you are with us. I don't know if you want to answer that question as well.
I think this is an important point, which is who would want to be Prime Minister of Iraq right now? And maybe one of the reasons, that Maliki, ended up being the agreed candidate is everybody else just thought this is going to be the most impossible time to be Prime Minister because the pressure is huge. The political costs of any reforms are going to be significant to big. Of course, we all would hope for a prime minister that can take these pressures and use it to improve the Iraqi economy and the Iraqi state, and that would require, I think, somebody of technocratic background as well as somebody who's a heavyweight politician. And I just wonder whether, one of the reasons this is going to take a little bit longer is that there is a real possibility that if you choose the wrong person, that Iraq finds itself in a much worse crisis than it needs to face. So who would that be? As I said, it's still a big question mark. But I think we said at the start they seem to want a Sudani, but not Sudani. So somebody who's got technocratic skills, who's got the ability to manage the politics, and that's both internal, but it's also sitting in the White House and talking to the Iranians. It's not clear who that would be. We all remember a lot of talk around the head of intelligence possibly coming in, although there's this instinct within the coordination framework that they want to be the kitchen where the decisions are taken. They don't want anybody too powerful and too good who's going to establish themselves truly as the leader of Iraq in the next stage. So we've got to watch how this emerges. The message we've given to all the possible candidates, I saw Maliki last year, and we've spoken to Amar al-Hakim and some of the others, is look, we're a business organization, but we want somebody who understands that in this time particularly, it's true always, but particularly now, growing the private sector, getting the business environment, the banking sector, the investment environment in a better place is the absolutely vital thing. And we want that from whichever Prime Minister comes, and our members and we, working with other business groups and with the British and other governments, we will be supportive of that. So I hope they listen to that message. Thank you.
Thank you very much, John. I think that maybe that Mustafa, while you're here, it would be very good to hear a little about Mitsubishi, because I don't think Mitsubishi have been on our member forum in this way before. So if you've got 2 minutes just to tell us what you're doing and what you're looking to do and how we can help you.
Yeah, thank you very much for this introduction. We are Mitsubishi Corporation. We established our office in Iraq during 2012. Before that, we belong to Mitsubishi Corporation Amman office. Our main business is a Basra Gas Company with Shell and Saud Gas Company, the representative of Iraqi government. Of course, during previous years, we support the electricity sector through supplying very important equipment to the Ministry of Electricity, and of course to the industry sector also through Diala Company. In parallel, we supported the Iraqi society through CSR programs, and recently we are in coordination with the Capita, if you hear about it, in a program called Empowering Lab to develop the capability of the young people who just graduated from the universities, from college. And I will ask Capita, because the graduation ceremony will be held during next week. So if you allow, I will ask Capita to send an invitation to IBBC to attend the graduation ceremony, of course, with the pleasure. So that's in a brief our activities in Iraq. Thank you.
Thank you, Mustafa. Very good to hear from you. And Ali Mashkour, I think you have something to add.
Hi everyone. Sorry, it's a bit loud here. I'm on holiday, but I didn't want to miss the forum, so I joined. I have a question for Shayan. I assume you know that there are 4 million Iraqi diaspora. So we have 4 million Iraqis living outside of Iraq. And a lot of them are actual professionals and have had great training. They are very qualified for various different jobs. So I was going to ask, does your company have any focus on Iraqis brought up abroad, or studied abroad or worked abroad, and trying to bring them back to Iraq?
Yes, Ali, that's a good question. Last year, through our offices, I didn't mention, we have other offices in UAE, in KSA, in Libya, Lebanon, Qatar as well. So through these offices, we saw a lot of people approaching us, knowing that as an Iraqi company operating in those countries and those regions, coming to us and telling us we are here and we want to find a decent job in Iraq in hopes that we can go back to our home country. So in numbers, it wasn't a significant number considering all these people, Iraqis outside, but for last year, we managed to get employment for around 120 people from those regions that we are operating and working, and be able to secure them jobs to come back to Iraq, whether in different cities. We know this is not a huge number, but that gave us an idea on something to work on this year, to have a project that attract audience and talents that are outside, and to be able to promote for those talents and CVs free of charge to the clients that we operate with, so in hopes that they secure jobs.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Anything else, Adi? Are you quite happy with that?
Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you.
No, that's fantastic. I would just say, with your relations with companies, it's sometimes requires for these Iraqis to come back. They may need a bit of TLC, to provide them with some support. They don't need the full kind of expat package. They probably don't need security, for example. It depends on what their contract is, but they need a bit of comforting to come back. So they're a mix of Iraqi foreigner, and it's very difficult to get the right balance.
Yeah, and that, to be honest, that was one of the challenges because of the high expectations from those people. Just hearing that, for example, in Basra, international IOCs are paying more than other employers, so they had a high expectation. So that made it a bit difficult. So hopefully, also the mentality will change, and if they intend to come back to the country, then they have to agree with what the market is providing, not what the expectation is.
Thank you very much, Shayan. And of course, this ladders very nicely into our Changing Expectations Mansion House event we're having, the conference. So this is all part of Changing Expectations, getting the diaspora to return to Iraq. I think if we have Mr. Fouad on the call from Al Nasur law firm, I think you were going to just introduce yourself briefly to us as a new member. Hello, are you there, Mr. Fouad? Maybe not. Okay, in which case, do we have James in the IBBC office? James Hunter, are you on?
Yeah,
Hi, James. I think you got a very short announcement to make, haven't you? A call out to everybody.
Just a brief bit of
knowledge of what's going on internally with the IBBC is that I'm currently we're trying to reinvigorate the Young Executives Network at the IBBC. So I'd appreciate if anyone has young employees or young Iraqis who are interested in connecting with young Iraqis in the UK, for example. It'd be great to have a connection and be great for them to reach out on my email. I'll drop it in the chat now. But yes, I'd like to put some effort into this. So that's just a brief update for everyone.
Thanks, James. Is that the Young Enterprise Network, we call it?
Young Executives Network.
Young Executive Network. Okay, thank you very much. Tim Fisher, I can see a hand up. Hello, Tim.
Hello there. James, do I qualify as being young enough? Yeah, do I just come under the wire there, do you think?
Just yeah, well done. Yeah, exactly.
Good. But on a very serious note, could you please write to me directly? Because I like this idea, and we'll I think there's one or two folk in our
good
group who would look at this for sure. Thank you.
It's early days still, but we're hopefully building up to something. So yes, happy to reach out. Thanks, Tim.
Tim, thank you. And Alistair, Andrew, sorry. Yes.
Yeah, that was going to be my question. We have pretty dynamic team in Iraq. So what is the definition of young? Some are in their 30s, some maybe late 20s. Is there a cutoff for this generally?
I think
Andrew, don't give him the scope to say you're too old. What are you doing?
I think that anyone's welcome to connect if they're interested in helping young Iraqis or young specifically. So, a case by case basis, but anyone who's interested in supporting it, the Young Executive Network, whether that's providing opportunities or a webinar or something like this in the future, will obviously reach out and communicate these events in the future. But I think people who are interested in providing that sort of kind of pathway for communication and between young Iraqis or students, young Iraqis, and the professional private sector, Iraqi private sector, they're more than welcome.
Great, thank you.
Thanks, Andrew.
Thank you very much. And I think we're nearly the end. Christoph, did you want to round up with anything about your tour that you've been on in Iraq recently?
Thank you, Ashley. Yes, I mean, you all got the news through the newsletter. We had a visit to Baghdad with Ali and Nabil. We met a lot of the new members. There was a reception with Al-Nisur Law, where I think 30 or 35 members attended. We also had meetings with Dr. Abdul Karim at PMAC and with the Deputy Governor of the Central Bank to discuss the latest political situation, but also update them on our plans for this year. If you were at the council meeting, you will have picked up that we are not planning to have a major event in Iraq until a new government is formed. So last year in February, we had a big conference in Baghdad. This year, we're not doing it because I think it's the consensus is we should have a new government in place to do that. So we're aiming to have a big conference in Baghdad in the autumn, following our spring conference in London in June. But that doesn't mean that we're not being active. So you'll have the Iraqi companies within the council will have received an invitation to join the EBRD SME event in Baghdad next week. So we're working very closely with EBRD, and they're now launching the SME finance initiative. So all who qualify, meaning being an SME and Iraqi, have been invited. If you haven't been invited, please reach out to us. So EBRD is starting its financing schemes for SMEs in Iraq, which is really good news for many of our members. Al-Nisur Law has offered to do a joint iftar dinner with us, either in the 3rd or 4th week of Ramadan. So there will be an invitation coming that will be in Baghdad. We're likely going to have a big reception with Al-Mansir in Baghdad in April after Easter. And we're working on a banking seminar for private banks to meet British banks in London to discuss correspondent banking. So that will be of limited interest to the wider membership, but effectively it will help Iraqi private banks to establish better banking services. So hopefully that will benefit everyone in the long term. And then, of course, as you mentioned already, Ashley, we've got the big spring conference coming up at the Mansion House, and an invitation was just issued earlier, I think, this week. So that's really it from me at the moment.
Thank you very much, Christoph. And I think probably, unless anyone's got anything to add, then I'd like to thank you all for coming. And again, if anyone has any news they'd like us to share, then please let myself or Agni know, and we can put it on our website. We can share it through our digital media, and feel free to stay in touch. So thank you, everybody. And we'll probably have another one sometime towards the end of next month, if maybe not a bit later. Okay, thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.